Welcome along. Thanks for joining us on the Gary Neville podcast. Today, Gary and I have just been watching a very dramatic game at Stamford Bridge. What a finish, Gary.
Yeah, incredible. A game that swung back and forwards a little bit. Chelsea definitely deserved it in the end. I think the problems that they had to contend with during the game with injuries, their intent in the last 15 minutes. I always think that football games are won by intent, teams that look like they want to win. I'm not saying Liverpool didn't, they obviously did, but I thought after they scored I was really disappointed in their level of performance. A lot's been made of Liverpool's defensive work, and rightly so, but today for me that's not why they've lost this game. They've lost this game because in the last 15-20 minutes their creative players, their players in the final half of the pitch, the midfield players and the forwards were absolutely useless. They were giving the ball away like you wouldn't believe. I mean, Gakpo down here, Salah over on that far side, the wastage, Wirtz not knowing how to get into a game in the last 15 minutes when it was there for the taking and just sort of almost marking Caicedo. I was watching him quite a lot. And yeah, but Chelsea, honestly, the way in which they kept going, they kept attacking, the players they've lost during the game, it was a brilliant win for them. And it's been a tough week or two, and I wasn't expecting that after Liverpool scored, I have to say.
Did you feel in injury time that Chelsea were the only team who were going to win it?
You still, because of Liverpool and how they've been, think they're going to put that sort of sting in the tail, don't you? And they're going to burst the balloon. But I just felt as though the three in midfield for Chelsea, Lavia, Caicedo and Fernandes, they were running all over Liverpool's midfield. And they were protecting that back four. I mean, Liverpool had so many opportunities to counter-attack and were wasteful. But I just felt Chelsea's intent. They changed the whole front three. Esteval comes on this side, they've got Gittins on that side, and then the boy in the middle, I can never pronounce his name correctly, Guiu. Yeah, and you're thinking, well, Liverpool should be able to handle that, and they should be able to spring off it and go in attack, but Chelsea kept coming forward, they had so much intent, so much positivity, they dominated possession in the last 10 minutes, they dominated touches in the box, they dominated shots on goal. They were by far the better team over the course of the whole game. Liverpool, not quite right. Don't think it's time to panic. But Chelsea, really, from where I'd seen them at Old Trafford a couple of weeks ago, and obviously got beat last week at Brighton, that's a brilliant turnaround going into the international break, and they needed that because they've been obliterated with injuries as well. And I've been to this stadium a lot. I've been and watched them here in Champions League winning seasons and title winning seasons, but that atmosphere at the end was pretty special.
And I mean, you mentioned the Liverpool defensive reshuffle, which, as far as we know, was by design from Arne Slot, but Chelsea themselves lost their first choice centre-halves today, and they themselves are reserve players pretty much, and yet still managed to hold out for this win, despite all the reshuffle.
I think it's 6 centre-backs, isn't it, that Chelsea have lost, including the 2 that they lost during the game today, which they've ended up with Hato and Reece James at centre-back, which, how Liverpool with Wirtz, Ekitike, Isak, Salah, Gakpo all on the pitch haven't gone and scored a second goal, you'll never know. But it's down to how they defended that four. They did really well, but also just the spirit of the players in front. They were fantastic. Liverpool's back four, I thought it was a disappointing day for Conor Bradley. Didn't have really much chance to speak about him going off at half-time, but
Is that the right decision, do you think, though?
Oh, yeah.
Yellow card?
Yeah, I think so. Yellow card, but obviously they needed to get back into the game as well. I mean, Conor Bradley started the game, I thought, well in the first 5 minutes on the ball. He did a couple of nice things down here. But I said during the first half, there's an old adage, it's Rio Ferdinand's words to me every time I went out and played in that last 8-9 years of my career when I played with him, saying nothing down our side. And I don't think Liverpool's right side thinks that way. Hasn't done for a number of years. But Conor Bradley, a real chance today. Szoboszlai going back into midfield. Frimpong on the bench. Conor Bradley's a player that I think's got real talent and potential. But he didn't handle Garnacho well in that first half. Garnacho, I thought, got the better of him. Not in doing anything amazing, but I just thought he had him. And, you can see when someone's just shading a game. Garnacho was winning on points, if you like. And then obviously he gets booked. He then has another little nibble at him just before half-time. And then you're in a situation whereby he's sat watching the second half in the dressing room and on the bench. And you are down in the dumps when that happens, because this is Conor Bradley's big day today. So he's missed an opportunity. When you get an opportunity in life, you've got to take it. And this was a big opportunity for him. Arne Slot saying, right, go on, you're in. Big game, Chelsea away, just before the international break. Cement your place. I'm putting you in there in front of Frimpong. Szoboszlai's in midfield, go, and he's not done it. Konate looks like he's struggling. The boy Kirkias, to be honest with you, at this moment in time, he looks like a youth team player. And that's not being sort of, I know he's a good player, but he looks like he's playing for the under-21s, for the youth team, for the academy. He looks so naive. He looks like a baby out there. Like, you're thinking, come on. He's losing 50-50s over on that far side against Neto. I mean,
he was probably brought in as a long-term replacement, wasn't he, for Randy Robertson? Do you think his introduction perhaps could have been more gradual?
I just thought he's played in the Premier League, though. He's had Premier League experience. It's not as if he's coming from a different country. He's got a lot of games under his belt. He's played at these grounds before. I expected him to slot in. Excuse the pun. I expected him to sort of just go right in because, one, he's playing alongside Virgil van Dijk, the best centre-half in the world. So if you want to play against, you want to play in a back four, you want to play, with great defenders, and he's doing that. He's got players who work hard on that side. It's not as if he's got Salah in front of him on this side, which is a bit more difficult for the right back because you always get a little bit more exposed. But I have to say, from that first minute of that game, or first 10 minutes of that game against Bournemouth on the first day of the season, on that Friday night, he struggled. Let's be clear, Liverpool's fullbacks are struggling. Frimpong looks like he should be playing as a right winger.
Which is where he did play.
An out right winger. He just looks like a right winger. He doesn't perform like a right back. Conor Bradley just isn't doing it. Andy Robertson, I think, he's battling. He's battling, but he's not quite where he was a few years ago. Kirkias, as I've said, I think I've discussed him and sort of seen how he's going. So Liverpool's problems, I think, at this moment in time are as much to do with fullback as anywhere. Really, they need to button that down. They didn't create a lot of chances, Chelsea. I don't think that today Liverpool's defensive work was awful, but they just weren't quite there. And I actually thought their front players I thought they were terrible. I mean, Salah, he's sublime. How can you criticise Mo Salah? The consistency and reliability and brilliance of him. But some of the decisions of him today, when he comes inside and you think he should pass it or you think he should do something better with it, he's finishing. So he was poor today. Isak, I thought he'd started the game sharp, didn't quite get into it. Wirtz, when he came on, I was disappointed with him. I said after a few weeks ago on this podcast, after the Arsenal game, again, he looks very, very immature in his knowledge of how to play the game. The players who play that game, that position really well, and he's obviously got massive talent. His first touch when he came on was amazing, and Salah should have scored. But I just see him sort of jogging around and sort of jogging towards players, and I see him going too deep when he shouldn't go too deep, and I see him standing next to players when he shouldn't be standing next to players. Sometimes I see him being too honest. It sounds crazy. Going back and defending when he should be almost half cheating, almost like keeping an eye on that deep lying midfield player, Caicedo, and thinking if he goes forward, okay, I can get to him, but I'm going to sit on his shoulder a little bit just in case I can spring off him and go the other way on the counter-attack. He's quite predictable at this moment in time in terms of picking up his position, and he was disappointing. Yeah, Liverpool were poor today, and in the second half I was really disappointed with him. If you're a Liverpool, that's the most disappointing last 15 minutes I've seen from Liverpool in a long time. Because I think when Chelsea have that back four in play, you've scored a goal, you've got to go on and win that game. Everything said Liverpool should go and win that game, but they've not done, and that's a problem for them. And look, it's not terminal. We've got a title race on. Arsenal have had a great week. Liverpool have had a poor week, and I think it makes for a great next 6 months, because it's obvious that it's going to be a real battle. But for Liverpool, they've got some work to do. But they've got experienced players, they've got world-class players and individuals in their team. They've got a great manager. They'll sort it out. But the fullbacks have to step up. Wirtz has to start playing and understanding how he's going to sort of connect with Isak and the other forwards in the team. They've got some work to do.
The one who got away, as far as Liverpool are concerned, a good couple of years ago now, but I think he keeps coming back to haunt them, was Caicedo, and we have to pay tribute to his performance today, not just the goal.
He was the best player on the pitch by a mile. Forget the goal, which was absolutely incredible. He's getting to the ball, he's taking the ball off people, his work around the pitch. He's 2-in-1, he's everything. He's a brilliant midfield player. He's the best player on the pitch by a mile. If Liverpool had him in midfield, they probably would have won. He was that good, and I think that when he first came, it wasn't quite happening for him, was it? He was playing in that 2 in midfield alongside Enzo, and everyone looking at him thinking, well, what is he? But now He's I'm breathing before I say it because I'm trying to think of players like Declan Rice and others in the league, but I think he's the best midfield player in the league at this moment in time, and I think I'm comfortable saying that. I think Gravenberch last season, and maybe Declan Rice and two boys up at Newcastle, Rodri obviously for the last few years, but now I think at this time that we are here today, getting into October 25, I think we can say that Caicedo's the best midfield player in the league, and he's performing like that.
And you talked about Liverpool's wide areas, but Chelsea used theirs quite effectively, didn't they? First of all with Garnacho, and then even after the substitutions, obviously Estevao had the final say. Yeah,
I thought Garnacho played well. I thought it was I mentioned before about immaturity of say Wirtz in his positions, but I thought Garnacho was very mature today. Sometimes when I've watched him at United, I thought he's a little bit ill-disciplined. In terms of his football and how he plays, I thought he was quite disciplined today. I thought he made some good runs. I thought he made good choices on the ball. I thought it was a good 75 minutes that he played. I thought he played well. I thought Neto did a good job on that right hand side. I mean, they weren't spectacular. They didn't sort of, light the game up in any way. In terms of how they sort of, assists and goals and amazing shots. But I just thought they were very solid in their performances, and that's what you want sometimes from your wide players, like João Pedro as well. And then when Estevao came on, he had that bit of brilliance. I mean, the cross that he put in just before he scores for Enzo Fernandez, who misses that with the header, it's the post. That should have been 2-1 at that point. So Liverpool had the warning sign. But I thought that was a brilliant night for Chelsea. I thought it was a brilliant performance. I thought the wide players did well. I thought they all did well. I don't think there was anybody in a Chelsea shirt that I looked at that I didn't think played anywhere, basically close to their top level. I thought it was a really good performance. You can't beat Liverpool and not be at your best. And that's the biggest compliment you can pay to Liverpool.
The key question with Chelsea, though, is if they can do this when they're weakened by injuries and suspensions, when they get those players back and the squad is even stronger, can they be in the conversation to challenge Liverpool, to challenge Manchester City, to challenge Arsenal?
Yeah, I mean, look, I saw them a couple of weeks ago at Old Trafford and they went down to 10 men, so it was a bit of a game that was skewed by that, but I still was disappointed in them after that. I thought they could have done a lot better, particularly when United went to 10 men. And then obviously they lose last weekend at Brighton, but you're right, when they get these players back, they've got a massive squad, and that's why they've amassed this squad to be able to cope with the World Club Championship, with Champions League football, with all the cup competitions and the Premier League, and they've spent a lot of money to do so. So it's not... we should be expecting this from Chelsea. I mean, I think they've only gone up to 6 today, haven't they? It's not as if they've had a great start to the season. They haven't, but that's a big moment for them. That should give them a lot of confidence, and they have to be at that level of intensity in all games. You can't just switch it on and off like a tap. You have to be at that level of intensity. You're playing against Brighton, or you're playing against Nottingham Forest here in a few weeks, or whenever it may be, teams that you feel that you maybe should beat, Burnley. You have to, as a player, get yourself up. You have to find a way to be able to get yourself at that level of intensity that you would do naturally through the adrenaline rush of a big game like Liverpool or Arsenal or Manchester City. They're the games where you just spiked, straight away. But you've got to find a way to get yourself spiked for those other games, and you've got to be consistent all the way through the season. So these Chelsea players and the manager has to find a way to get that out of them. But they've set themselves a standard today, particularly in that last 15 minutes. When you talk about showing character, there couldn't have been anything gone further wrong. Everything went wrong for them today in the second half, didn't it, in terms of the defensive substitutions they had to make. And they've coped with it, and they've dealt with it, and they've performed brilliantly.
Now, Liverpool lost their second game in the 31st match of last season. They've lost 2 of their first 7 now this season. So it's massive encouragement for Arsenal.
Yeah.
And you're talking about teams who win the title can sometimes drop silly points. And West Ham today, would that have been potentially the kind of game it has been in the past where Arsenal have dropped points at home?
Maybe. I didn't expect them to, and they haven't done it. It looks like a solid 2-0 win. It's a good scoreline sometimes when you just clean sheet. You've scored 2 goals. You've done your job. And obviously the title rivals that you're up against at this moment in time go and basically lose. So what a week it's been for Arsenal. That was massive last weekend at Newcastle. As soon as that first goal went in, I shouted the word big, because I felt it was big. And then the second goal goes in and you're thinking, right, that's a big moment. That Liverpool have lost on the Saturday at Crystal Palace. Arsenal have won. They needed that. But I talked about intent a lot, and Mikel Arteta changed his intent. about being positive and going for it and having to win and picking a positive team and then making really positive substitutions, just like Enzo Maresca's done here today for Chelsea. It matters. Your manager, we've got to stop listening to what they say and look at what they do during the game. That'll tell you everything. Are they pragmatic? Are they cautious? Are they managers that, you can be cautious and pragmatic when you're 2-0 up at home. I'm sure Mikel Arteta did 2-0 up against West Ham. We've won this game. We don't need to go and win it again. That's the time to keep possession and sort of move it around the back and maybe, just be a little bit more careful, because you don't want to, before an international break, you don't want to go and make a big mistake. But I think Arsenal are set up really nicely now. I think they'll see this last week as a massive week because of what they've done, but also because of what's happened with Liverpool. They've given them encouragement.
Talking of massive weeks, it was one for Ruben Amorim. It was a date with Sunderland that he pretty much had to win by the looks of things, and he did get the win.
Yeah, we were half watching it, weren't we, up preparing for obviously this game, and it was a must-win game. I don't think it lets him off the hook. I think that there's too many defeats. The record's too poor. I don't think anybody will be celebrating too much tonight at Manchester United, but I think they'll be relieved that there is a victory today, which allows a little bit of peace going into the international break. But yeah, I think that the big challenges are still to come. And I said last week I'm worried. I'm not any less worried tonight, but what it does mean when you win is that people just tend to just ease off a little bit, and that's right, of course. But there's a lot to do. We've had these sort of moments before where, Manchester United beat Burnley a few weeks ago. They've beaten Sunderland today. They'll win the odd game, but that's nowhere near enough. When you've got these 3 weeks to be able to prepare for matches, United need to be right up there. I don't know where they've gone in the league. They've gone to 8th, have they, or something like that?
I'd have to double check.
Yeah, so it'll look a lot better. That's for sure. But I don't think anybody would be kidded on by the fact that Manchester United beating Sunderland at home. The fact that it was even in doubt before the game is probably the problem in itself.
What do you make of the fact that it's the fault of you and all your fellow pundits that have got into the players' heads for talking about the system?
What?
That's what Ruben Amorim claimed.
Right,
the pundits had got into his players' heads with all this talk about the system, and the system wasn't the problem.
All right, I've not seen that, to be honest with you. I've not got a lot of time for that. I think if you're... Well, for a start, if pundits are getting into your head, then you shouldn't be playing for the club. It's as simple as that. I mean, do people not remember Alan Hansen criticising us when we broke in as young kids, saying that you can't win anything with kids? That was the greatest centre-back of all time at that moment. The most successful centre-back of all time, talking about us as if we were, inferior and nowhere near good enough. Do they not think that we got criticised during our football careers? I'm sorry, you're playing for Manchester United. It comes with the territory. You've got to step up, and you've got to basically... And look, they've been hopeless in the system. They've been absolutely hopeless. So, I mean, all right, it's not the system, it's you, the players. We can start just battering the players. I mean, I've mentioned the system because I've not liked certain things that I've said. For instance, Mason Mount playing left wing back. That can't happen. Changing the back three all the time. That 2 in midfield means that Bruno's got to play in midfield. I don't like that aspect of it. So the parts of the system are a problem in the sense that they haven't got the right players. Or it's meaning that Bruno's not in his best position, which is probably in that position where we've seen Enzo Fernandez today in that number 10. So the system does create problems. But you're right. It's not. He's right in what he says. It's not the entirety of the problem. The players are a problem. The manager is a problem. The whole thing's a problem. If you're losing football matches to the level that Manchester United have been doing, then I don't know. I never blamed anybody else when we lost football matches. And I played in the dressing room that basically when you lost football matches, you came in and you said, "Sorry about that, lads. Today I was a mess for that goal, or I made a mistake." There was accountability. Why would you blame other people when you're losing matches? I mean, to be fair, that's a pretty big problem in itself. So no, I've not got any time for it. Excuse mentality, shortcuts, blaming other people. It's the worst thing that you can do that in life. I think they just need to concentrate on doing their jobs and do it well and win football matches. That's the only thing that's going to shut anybody up, is winning football matches, and they've not won anywhere near enough football matches. We could all be quiet and say nothing about Manchester United. It's getting to that point, by the way, where people are just switching off a little bit and sort of saying, well, I expected it. which is the worrying thing. The fact that we're still talking about the club and the fact that the club's still under scrutiny tells you how big the club is. But it's getting to that point now where Manchester United lose that you almost like to think, well, I expected that. And that's a big problem because the levels have dropped to such a standard. So no one wants that. You think the ex-players that played for the club want to see Manchester United lose? You think I go there, my kids go there, every other week if they're not going to Salford and watch them play? And I go and watch them play if I'm not working for Sky. Think I want to go and watch them lose? Think I walk down that canal bank for 45 minutes into that stadium just to go and watch them lose? No, I don't. I go to watch them win. And so does every other fan that goes in that stadium. So I think that they've got to do the jobs consistently and reliably, and they've got to start performing as they should be, which is a highly motivated, strong squad that's been put together with a lot of money placed on them, a lot of money being paid to them, a lot of money that's been spent on them, and they've got to basically go and win football matches on a consistent basis. And in 2 weeks' time, they've got a massive opportunity to play at Anfield, the toughest game, and that will tell you where Manchester United are. I'll tell you where Liverpool are at. It's a great game to look forward to in 2 weeks, because Manchester United are off the back of a win, Liverpool are off the back of a couple of defeats. The game will have pressure on both teams, both managers, and they'll have a chance to step up and play well in their system and play well at a difficult ground.
Before that, we have the international break. So just one other issue to bring up with you. A lot of talk about Thomas Tuchel's squad yesterday and the fact that he omitted Jude Bellingham, despite the fact that he is fit and back playing, to stick with the squad that had served them so well, particularly against Serbia in the last round of games. Could you understand that decision, or would you criticise him for leaving Bellingham out?
No, he's definitely sending him a message, though. I mean, if you think about England managers over the last 20, 30 years, they've always brought their star players back in, even if they haven't played a game, just to get them back in amongst it, even just to train with the squad. So I think it is a message to Jude Bellingham. I don't think he'll take it any other way. There are enough signals, I think, that we've seen in Thomas Tuchel's press conferences to know that he's not scared of making a tough decision. There's obviously things that he doesn't like, not just about Jude Bellingham, but other players as well. And he's thinking, well, no, I'm going to send them a message. I think he really liked what he saw in that last international break, and he doesn't want to disrupt that. And I think he thinks the players that were together in that last international break deserve to be together again. And I think he's probably got to a point in his career where he's strong enough, he's experienced enough to be able to handle the criticism that will come his way if it doesn't go well. I'm sure Jude Bellingham and Phil Foden will have an opportunity to come back into the squad, and they should come back into the squad. But he's definitely sending them both a message. You can't not be. I've been part of England squads enough to know that managers tend, when they only have limited time with their players, to get all their players back together that they want for a World Cup as much as possible, just so that the rhythm, the training practices, the sort of the what we're going to do. The World Cup preparation starts now, really. You've only got another 2-3 weeks with the players before you get to a World Cup. So Thomas Tuchel's got to use every single week that he has to get all those players together, and he's decided to make that point this week with those big omissions, and he's done that purposely because he feels as though he needs to send a message to people.
He's certainly not starstruck by big names, and the only time I've seen you starstruck was the presence of Madonna today.
Well, look, I mean, I, to be fair, there are very few what would be, when you were growing up, you think Freddie Mercury and Queen, or Michael Jackson and Madonna, David Bowie, and these massive sort of like megastars. She was the first real female sort of megastar. I mean, maybe Diana Ross and people like that, but for me, Madonna almost broke the mold. She was a massive sort of noise when she first broke through, and it's probably when I was about, maybe, I don't know, I felt like when I was about probably 8 or 9 or 10. Just to see her in the crowd over there munching on the popcorn, watching the football.
She'll be wanting a season ticket now, won't she, after that late drama?
Probably. I hope she'll leave before the end. I actually asked to the director, did we get Madonna celebrating the Chelsea goal or not? He said, no, we didn't have a camera on. I was like, well, yeah, must have. You can't take the camera off Madonna. You've got one up here for me for the podcast. You've got to keep one on Madonna.
That's the only time that's ever happened. A camera for you preferred to a camera for Madonna.
Exactly.
Anyway, it's been a pleasure as ever. Thanks for joining us on the Gary Neville podcast.
Thank you.
William Saliba opens up on Arsenal frustrations and his mission to win trophies. William Saliba has officially committed his long-term future to Arsenal, signing a new 5-year contract and turning down interest from European giants like Real Madrid. But for the French defender, this decision wasn't just about loyalty, it was about unfinished business. Speaking candidly about his journey so far with the Gunners, Saliba made it clear he's not satisfied yet. Despite his rising status as one of the Premier League's top centre-backs, he hasn't lifted the kind of silverware that truly defines a legacy. He, Trent Alexander-Arnold, won some titles with Liverpool, Saliba said, when asked why he stayed at Arsenal despite Real Madrid's interest. Me? I haven't won anything here yet, just the Community Shield. That's not enough. I haven't done anything to feel like I should leave. I want to win trophies here. A lot of them. This level of honesty is rare and refreshing. Saliba's hunger reflects the mood of the squad and the expectations of the fans. And it's a mindset that manager Mikel Arteta deeply values. It's great news for the club, Arteta said of the contract extension. Willy deserves this. His impact on the team has been phenomenal. We're building something special, and he's a key part of that foundation. Saliba also confirmed he's now fully recovered from the ankle injury that briefly interrupted his season. As Arsenal prepares for their Champions League clash against Olympiacos, he's clear about what needs to happen next. The club's long trophy drought has to end. I've been here for 3 years, and every time we finish second, it stings, he admitted. You go on vacation, but you're not really celebrating. You're thinking about what could have been. It doesn't feel right. Saliba's frustration isn't only about missed trophies. His path to becoming a starter at Arsenal wasn't smooth. After signing from Saint-Étienne in 2019, he spent the better part of 2 years on loan, including a spell at Nice that, at the time, left him questioning everything. When I arrived in 2020, I didn't play for 6 months. Then I was loaned out. Of course, I had doubts. I wondered if I'd ever play for this club, he said. But I told myself I couldn't leave without trying. Even when I was training with the under-21s, I kept working. When they told me in December it was best to go on loan, I was angry. I needed to play. But I never gave up. I went, I played, I came back, and I proved I could start. I'm proud of that. It shows you should never quit. That resilience, the refusal to walk away even when the odds were stacked against him, has shaped the player and the man Saliba is today. It's also what makes his connection to the club feel so personal. His love for Arsenal started long before he ever wore the shirt. Growing up in France, it was Thierry Henry, a club legend and Saliba's childhood hero, who made Arsenal feel like home, even from afar. My first Arsenal jersey had Henry on the back, he recalled. He was incredible to watch. Being French and seeing someone like him at a club like Arsenal, it inspired me. I was young, but I remember watching clips, especially that Champions League final in 2006 against Barcelona. That stayed with me. Now, Saliba isn't just wearing the same colours as his idol, he's trying to carry on that legacy. His admiration for Henry became motivation. His loyalty to Arsenal is about more than a contract. It's about identity, pride, and ambition. Despite heavy links to top European clubs, including Real Madrid, Saliba insists he never seriously considered leaving. To be honest, I wasn't really focused on the outside interest, he said. I was focused on staying here. I knew I wanted to be part of this project for years to come. So I'm happy. I'm proud to sign a new contract and keep going. And he's not the only one feeling the pressure to deliver. Mikel Arteta knows that expectations have changed. From the moment I took the job, I knew I wanted to win big trophies here, Arteta said. That's the standard. That's the ambition. No one needs to remind us of that. It's what we expect from ourselves. Excuses have never been part of my mindset. As Arsenal prepares for another shot at glory, both domestically and in Europe, Saliba stands at the heart of it all, stronger, more determined, and more connected than ever to the club he now proudly calls home. Saliba's commitment arrives at a crucial time for Arsenal. After back-to-back seasons of falling just short in the Premier League title race, the pressure to finally convert progress into silverware is at an all-time high. His decision to stay signals not just belief in the project, but also a call for accountability, both from himself and his teammates. Inside the dressing room, his words have reportedly resonated. According to sources close to the squad, Saliba has emerged as a growing leader, not just through his performances, but in how he's approached the off-season, rehab, and now the new campaign. For a player still only 24 years old, it's a sign of maturity and ambition. The timing of his comments, ahead of a critical Champions League group stage opener, only heightens their impact. Arsenal's return to Europe's top competition last season ended in disappointment, exiting in the quarter-finals. Now, with a more seasoned squad and a stronger defensive core, there's an expectation that they'll go further. For Saliba, that means not only defending with discipline, but setting a tone of seriousness and hunger from the backline forward. Outside the club, his decision to reject Real Madrid has stirred conversation in both England and Spain. Some pundits have framed it as a rare example of a top young talent turning down the allure of Madrid in favour of loyalty and unfinished work. Others see it as a signal that Arsenal, once again, is a destination club, capable of retaining elite talent in their prime, not just developing it. That kind of perception shift matters, particularly as the Gunners continue to compete for high-profile signings and work to maintain the progress made under Mikel Arteta. In many ways, Saliba's choice reinforces the club's vision, a young, competitive core built for sustained success, not short-term fixes. Still, questions remain. Can Arsenal handle the pressure of being favourites? Can they manage the physical and mental demands of chasing a title across multiple fronts? And how much longer will players like Saliba remain patient if the club doesn't deliver the trophies they now publicly crave? For Saliba, at least, the answer is simple. He's staying because he believes it can happen, and that it should happen. I came back, and I've started almost every game since. I've seen the growth of this team up close. I know what we're capable of, he said. But we have to prove it. Talking isn't enough. As the season unfolds, all eyes will be on how Saliba and Arsenal respond to that challenge. For now, though, the message is clear. The club's defensive anchor is not just here to stay, he's here to win.